We'll have to see if Spacestation Gaming has come up with an answer for Cloud9. It is game 1 of this series.
Well, they came up with an answer. That's is it the right one?
Well, this was the one I said I didn't want to see. Fury, Windwalker, this was what they lost with last time.
Did they try with Shaman?
I spoke with Smexon a little bit about this just to give you guys a little bit of insight, and it's something I kind of alluded to. They thought that this composition has a lot of potential from when they last played it, but they felt like the main vulnerability is that Gorecki was using Ineffable Truth, and they said, you know what, if he goes full versatility, all of a sudden he's not a great target, and they think that they can win. So I think that is the logic. I don't know if it's going to practically play out that way, but I do like that they're trying something else, because like I said, if they locked in Destro Mistweaver melee, I think they would 100% lose.
Yeah, I like that. At least changing your gear, changing something could be that what makes or breaks the game. So I like that they're going in at least with a different plan.
All right, we'll see if it works out for them. Yeah, and he is running full versatility. He's also running Electrocute, so a little bit of an aggressive Restoration Shaman build here for Gorecki. Double Mortal Coil from Chanimal intercepting their push, and he just trades out Touch of Karma to go aggressive here. Spacestation Gaming are going all out. Almost getting a cauterized from Wealthy Man in that advance, but Cubsy activates the left coon in time. Cubsy now rolling out into midfield. Looking like he wants to reposition. Chun-Li and Smexon retreat back behind the pillar. They're avoiding the Dark Soul of Chanimal. They just want to wait for it to be over. They'll hit whatever comes near them, and then when that Dark Soul is over, I do anticipate them to get aggressive again. But they are showing potential. I mean, that was a crazy amount of damage considering they didn't commit the Siege Breaker or the Touch of Death, which they've now just utilized. Wealthy Man could be in trouble.
I definitely could be. He still has a cauterize, he still has the ice block, but I like the offensive strategy here by Spacestation Gaming. Really just trying to push Wealthy Man over. But a setup now on a Gorecki. Cubsy rolling in. These are the setups I'm talking about. Nice paralyze, but Gorecki's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's in the leg sweep. Can he survive? Chun-Li trying to throw in some heals, and it looks like he will ultimately live. There just wasn't enough damage from Chanimal and Wealthy Man to back it up. And now Wealthy Man's the one that's getting bursted down once again. And Spacestation Gaming, they are not afraid to go aggressive in this match, and it's something I really like to see.
Oh, Gorecki getting greater power, but he should be able to get around the corner and heal himself back up. He's playing Conflict and Strife. He knows that he was the target last time around. That's what I love about Cloud9, is as soon as they see an enemy healer kind of expose themselves in midfield, they are not afraid to just switch to the healer. I mean, even right now, they're punishing Gorecki for pushing out. Double fear by Smex, and Wealthy Man interrupted, going after him. Seduce on Gorecki, but it's on diminishing return. He's purging away. So many purges here. Flame Shock applied, really trying to maximize the damage onto Wealthy Man, but he's being pushed back. Needs to be a bit careful. Greater Pyro into a Mortal Coil. Chanimal setting out with fear, but Gorecki stabilizes at the box. These Purge all-ins, they are looking scary for Cloud9. And every once in a while, we just see Wealthy Man dipping down to 10%. Gorecki rolls out into midfield. He gets stunned up, but he's Conflict and Strife, and he's in Ghost Wolf. Very unlikely that he takes too much damage here. He's going to activate Astral Shift for the Combustion. Fair trade. He's going to recover from another swap. And Wealthy Man's getting bursted. Cubsy wind sheared by Gorecki. He is now seduced, though, and Chun-Li is low. He's going to trade out Touch of Karma. Does Wealthy Man decide to just block this? I don't think it would be wise. Unlikely that they find a kill this early in the match, but they could. Chun-Li pops that Fort Brew after the Karma there. I actually almost wonder if they would have killed him if they blocked that off. He almost died anyways, but Wealthy Man is low. Cubsy's in a paralyze. Gorecki's moving. He's purging out in midfield. Cubsy in a Stormbolt double leg sweep here by Spacestation Gaming, but Chun-Li needs to be careful. They may need to consider running away, but they're not going to. They just popped a Touch of Death. They're trying to get some damage out on Wealthy Man. I don't think his Touch of Death is going to get too much. With the Dress to Death, that double dress, I love. They waited until Touch of Death was about to go off, and then they timed both of their Dress to Death, Smexon and Chun-Li's, to hit as it exploded to try and KO Wealthy Man. That could net them the win later in the game, although now that they've shown how much damage it can potentially do, Cubsy will be more ready for it.
And he's going to have to be ready with the Life Cocoon, with the Vitality Conduit, Wealthy Man with the Battle Masters. They need to really anticipate that setup. Smexon taking a little bit of damage, and for now, I mean, Chun-Li and Smexon can self-sustain quite a bit, but a big Chaos Bolt lands on Smexon into a Mortal Coil. He can't heal himself. He's got the Frenzied Regeneration, but he just couldn't attack. Beautiful setup there by Cloud9. If Smexon just had even a moment to attack with the Frenzied Regen, he would have got massive healing on himself. But because he was just crowd controlled, he couldn't get that off. Chun-Li now getting bursted down, might just die through the fuse, forced to run it away. Gorecki caught into a Seduce, into a Fear. The crowd control chain seems to be endless. And now all of a sudden, Spacestation Gaming, they appear to have to play very defensive. They got to be a little bit afraid. Chun-Li with, of course, the touch of Karma. Can't afford to make one more trade here, but he has to be very careful. His Chanimal is just being allowed to free cast in this matchup.
That's the risk you take when you play aggressive against Mage Lock. They already got through Karma and Fort Brew in this push. Gorecki is still crowd controlled. They are punishing him for this aggressive play style, running back to the pillar. They left Smexon out in midfield, but Smexon on that Fury Warrior is going to be very self-sustaining. It's unlikely that Gorecki will ever need to keep his eyes too much on him with that Bloodthirst healing. So he's likely to just keep focusing on himself and Chun-Li. Cubsy and Paralyzed, Weltyman and Stormbolt into Cap Totem. Big Dressagath push, but Vitality Conduit heals Weltyman back to full health. He double blinks away with a Greater Pyro. Chun-Li ducks to the side to dodge it. And now Gorecki looks to try and get next to Chun-Li. Weltyman is pulling Chun-Li and Smexon away, so Gorecki has to run out in midfield to heal them, and Chanimal could intercept. He is also running the Succubus, so he could get a long crowd control chain by himself. Damage onto Weltyman, but Cubsy isn't crowd controlled. They pop that motorcycle. 2 motorcycles. Wait, is Gorecki wearing one too? I'm double checking. No, he's not. Okay. Smexon from the side. I'm actually wondering if that's an option at some point where the healers start running I guess you just run the claw, right? If you're going to run a damage trinket, you don't really need to go all out with a bike, but I know as a restoration druid, if you run the master shapeshifter, you're in cat form, you get 25% more damage, and that buffs the damage of like a motorcycle or a Dressagath, so you could do that and try and go for just a triple bike kill on the mage maybe, but they're not running it this game. Gorecki's mana still in a good position to continue the purges. Fear on Cubsy, this is the big push. Chanimal intercepts with the Mortal Coil into a root. The Cap Totem Cubsy out of the Paralyze. Good combo. Life Cocoon 10 seconds away, but Vitality Conduit available, so Weltyman heals himself back to full very easily. And now Chanimal's trying to pressure them off. Seduce on Gorecki, Fear on Smexon. Looks like Smexon is stuck in it, so no Berserker Rage. Chun-Li gonna trade Touch of Karma while he's all by his lonesome, and they're just happy to attack into it. They're trying to kill him through it. Now he activates the Fort Brew. Weltyman trying to poly him, but Chan breaking it there. Gorecki moves into midfield. He's going to get rooted by Chanimal. Shadow Fury, Fake Cast there, trying to avoid the Wind Shear. Goes for a Fear, trying to bait the Tremor. I don't think Tremor is available for 5 more seconds, so Gorecki is going to be able to reposition. No, actually does get feared at the chain end, but Weltyman's getting blasted. Those double Dressagaths are very scary. I love that Smexon and Chun-Li are coordinating them together. At any point when those Dressagaths are up, they could net a kill. They swap over to Gorecki again, but he's Conflict and Strife. He's full versatility. He basically went up in health in the stun. I don't think that's going to be an option for Cloud9. It seems like Chun-Li is only the real vulnerability for the team.
Yep, unless they can get the crowd control on Smexon. If they can keep him in a stun, a Mortal Coil, then I could see the Fear Word going down as well. And here it is. Big damage on Chun-Li and Smexon. Can they push through? Chun-Li has to be very careful. He doesn't have a single defensive cooldown, completely relying on Gorecki for the time being. And he is getting feared, he is getting bursted down and forced to go to the pillar. And this is where Cloud9 recovers, but Space Station Gaming, they just want to continue the assault. I mean, Gorecki does have the Spirit Link Totem, they can trade that out if they need to, but they really want to continue this aggressive push. But, I mean, unfortunately for Space Station Gaming, although they've had some nice attempts, they haven't got a big defensive cooldown yet from Weltyman. Like, we're at almost 20% dampening, almost 8 minutes elapsed. They've been sitting on Weltyman the entire game, and they haven't gotten cauterized, they haven't gotten Ice Black. Cubsy is literally 100% mana, and this is just what makes it so difficult. Space Station Gaming, they need a moment to just regroup, potentially think about a target change or something, because this just doesn't appear to be working. Although there are moments of offense, it's just hard. It's really difficult for Space Station Gaming to get anything rolling.
I mean, their only pressure is those Dressagath trinkets. I feel like it's the only time I noticed Weltyman's health spike, so they need to time that with the Siege Breaker and the Touch of Death. Go for a one-hit KO with Purges from Gorecki. It seems like that's the only way they're going to win. They initiate with Paralyze, but Chanimal intercepts with Mortal Coil. They switch to Cubsy. Maybe they're trying to bait something there. I mean, Cubsy could die in a stun to a double dress. I easily see that as potential, but Cubsy will have to expose himself. Weltyman being bursted down. There's the Dressagath again. Gets Life Cocooned by Cubsy. Cubsy rolls up for a double stun, adding some damage to the team as well. Deeper in dampening, though, Smexen does become a target. Before dampening, he's going to heal himself to full, but deeper in dampening, he does become a better target. Seduce on Gorecki, Chun-Li trades Karma immediately. Maybe they could switch to Smexen instead. Looks, they're actually popping Combustion into Touch of Karma. Chun-Li just going to diffuse Magic the Combustion, but they're actually killing them through every cooldown. And I mean, that's the main goal for them, is just get deep into dampening to the point where you die through cooldowns and you die through healing. Right now it's working. Chun-Li is still very vulnerable. They have to Spirit Link Totem as well. That was every single cooldown on that Combustion pretty much for Chun and Gorecki. Now, what are they going to do? They don't have any safety net to fall back on if they want to get aggressive.
It's not easy here for Spacestation Gaming. It's like you said, as this game goes on, it becomes more and more difficult for Smexen to actually just tank this damage. His self-healing will go down quite a bit, and I think the pressure might just be overwhelming. Chun-Li forced to the pillar to Vivify up. This gives Cubsy a moment to just top off Wealthy Man. Smexen's now going to be taking a huge hit of damage. Gorecki has to deal with the double leg sweep coming in. Smexen, he's got no trinket for this. The Earthen Wall Totem from Gorecki really trying to slow him down, but once again, the team of Spacestation Gaming forced to completely hide behind the pillar, 30% dampening. Gorecki's losing on mana. All three members are dying, and Cloud9 is kind of asserting dominance in this match. The only thing I really see for Spacestation Gaming is if those Dressagath trinkets crit a little bit more, they can get the Cauterize and maybe push through for an Ice Block, but it seems like you said, Sid, they are completely reliant on that trinket to actually cause pressure on Wealthy Men.
Triple Shadow Fury from Chanimal, Fear on the Ascendants, double Ring of Frost, Greater Pyro gets Storm Bolted just in time, but Chun trades a Touch of Karma anyway. They're trying to crack it with some Chaos Bolts. Gorecki is still crowd controlled, double Mortal Coil. Chun, unfortunately, Mortal Coiled out of line of sight. They can't cast on him. They're going to go after Smexen a bit. Gorecki is making his move forward here. They got Touch of Death. They've been sitting on it for some time. They popped the Fort Brew to buff the damage of it. This is where they really need to get a Cauterize. If they don't here, I don't know how they're going to win. There's no Life Cocoon to deny it. Dressagath pops off here, but it's not enough damage. Chun's still pushing for it. Is Chun-Li going to find it single-handedly? Smexen's making his way back to the target, but Combustion got popped. Chun-Li is scared. He has to retreat away back behind the pillar, but then Wealthy Man immediately swaps back over to Smexen. He's down to half health. He's got Enraged Regen. He might need to consider it. He pops a Rallying Cry instead, leaps away, but Chaos Bolt's in the air. Greater Pyro Blink. Wealthy Man doesn't find it. Gorecki's mana not looking good, and he needs that mana to purge if he wants to remove the Renewing Mist, the Enveloping Mist, and try and add some extra damage with the Electrocute. It does seem like Space Station Gaming, they're just basically living on a prayer. They press that Dressagath, they say a prayer to Dressagath and hope it crits, and if it doesn't, then Wealthy Man's never going to die. Oh no, they're stacked up for a triple leg sweep. Greater Pyros, Chaos Bolts flying in. Smexen pops in Rage Regen, but he can't attack and heal with it while he's disarmed. He Spell Reflects at low health. Defensive Intimidating Shout. Staying in the fight. But that's pretty much all they've been doing all game, is just staying in the fight. It doesn't seem like there's a light at the end of this damn tunnel.
I mean, definitely not. Wealthy Man has built his character to be literally as tanky as you could possibly be. He's even opting to use the Honor talent, Netherwind Armor, reducing the chance you'll suffer a critical strike by 15%. So, praying for those Dressagath crits, that's going to be even more unlikely with the way Wealthy Man's built his character. Maximum versatility, running the Heart of Darkness, Azurite. And, I mean, that's why it's so difficult to take him down. Dressagaths come flying in once again, but Cubsy, with Vitality Conduit, keeps him at full health almost instantaneously. The offensive pushes from Space Station Gaming, they've been good, but the defense from Cloud9 is just looking unbreakable.
Dressagath versus Life Cocoon. Who's the more powerful warrior here? We find out as we get deep into dampening. Chun and Smexen are rotting heavily. They're stacked up for double stuns, double coil. Smexen could be eradicated. Gorecki is still crowd controlled. He leaps back around the pillar, interrupts the Seduce. Gorecki is now free, but Chun got left behind. He's out in midfield. Is he going to duck for cover? He's pushing. He interrupts the Greater Pyro. Smexen's trying to back him up, but he's very far away from the fight. Goes for the Berserker Rage, charges in. They need to get a Cauterize sooner than later. There's almost no mana left, but Gorecki gets caught in a Polymorph. They go for the Paralyze. Wealthy Man temp shields the Touch of Death. It's do or die here to take out Wealthy Man. Do they have enough damage to do it? No, they don't. Smexen's in trouble. He's disarmed. He pops the Rally. He gets a boost of health, but everyone is just dying. Gorecki's now seduced for another 3 seconds. He hasn't left crowd control for like 20 straight seconds. He drops the Spirit Link, but he doesn't get inside in time. Now he has to pop the Ascendants. Chun is still low on health. health with the diffuse magic rolling. The only thing keeping him alive. Ascendance is up. Grecky needs to get heals, but he gets mortal coiled away. Vitality Conduit on the motorcycle. No damage taken from Wealthy Man. Infernal's called in on the whole team. Cubsy's rolling up. He's got a leg sweep. They actually dodged the leg sweep. Big mistake by Cubsy. Chun then ports away. Smexon leaps back behind the pillar. That leg sweep could have won the game if Cubsy landed it. It does give Spacestation Gaming another opportunity to pray to the Drestigoth gods for a crit, but having to win on only a crit is not the way you want to consistently beat a team, and they're just rotting to this Infernal around the corner. Flame Strike on one side, Rain of Fire likely on the other. I mean, they got to do something. Dampening's just getting higher.
It's getting higher and higher, 57% dampening, and this is where Smexon becomes an absolutely wonderful target. Grapple weapon on Smexon, one Greater Fire Blast. Actually gets deflected. Nice, really nice job there by Smexon, reflecting that Greater Power Blast, but now one actually lands, and how is Gorecki going to deal with this damage? Chaos Bolt lands, Chanimal putting out tons of pressure. Seduce might actually get cast out on Gorecki, and if that happens, it's either going to have to be a Tremor Totem or a Trinket. Smexon already running away, but this is the problem. You go in, you try to get something rolling, but they just can't find any damage. Gorecki caught in the midfield might just end up dying as well, and I just don't know how Space Station Gaming at this point can recover. Cloud9 hasn't had a single defensive cooldown for us. There's been no Cauterize, there's been no Ice Block, Cubsy's 100% mana. I mean, this composition might work on a smaller map, maybe, but I'm not even convinced of that at this point.
Combustion pops. Smexon tries to fear it away, but dampening's too high. Gorecki can't recover. And the Drestigoth gods are not going to grant Space Station Gaming their blessing. Cloud9 still looks strong in week 3.
Space Station Gaming falls at, I think, what was that, 64% dampening, somewhere in there. They definitely put up a good fight, though, but in the end, it just wasn't enough against Cloud9. Zigo, we were talking a little bit about the use of this comp and how maybe they could make it work. What about that comp that just wasn't working for them, or what about that game that they didn't do enough against Cloud9 against that Mage Lock comp?
I think the biggest issue is that every time, like, their idea was, let's go out, let's use some of our cooldowns, get the Life Cocoon, then we pull back. Wait for our next stun, we go out before Life Cocoon is back, and then we pop the rest of our cooldowns. Problem with that is that every single time they would go out the first time, Chanimal would fear up Smexon, force out his Berserker Rage, and then the second time they would go in, Smexon would just get spam feared during the setup. And I think it's just whoever is playing the defense there on the side of Cloud9, whether it's Chanimal or if it's Wealthy Man, like if they're focusing Chanimal, then it has to be Wealthy Man, or if Wealthy Man has to be Chanimal. Whoever is playing that defense always does a great job on scene. I think that's why it's so hard to kill them. I think it was a couple of dicey moments there in the start, but for the most part, it just looked like C9 was full control.
Yeah, they did have a fairly aggressive, Space Station Gaming had a fairly aggressive opening in the beginning there, Ben.
I mean, they definitely did. They weren't afraid to just trade out the Drestigoth trinkets, Touch of Karma, basically just go with a really, really, really aggressive gameplay. The problem is, as the game goes on, it's not as easy to do that. You're not feeling nearly as confident to, trade blows with your Touch of Karma early on. Gorecki doesn't have the global cooldowns to actually spam Purge and push in for interrupts, and it just seems like as the game goes on, as dampening gets higher, for Gorecki, it's so difficult to balance, defense as well as offense. It seems like you're just forced into this situation where you're fully defensive. You can no longer be offensive. You can't afford the globals to actually do it. And that's when the game is essentially just over. You try to make a push, but you're immediately swatted away by Cloud9, and the Gorecki on the Shaman becomes, I don't want to say useless, but it's really hard for him to use that Shaman utility in a meaningful way at, 60% dampening.
So it looks like Space Station Gaming has locked in Blade's Edge, Sid. Do we feel like they're going to try to make this comp work again, or is there something that they're going to maybe change up going into this game too?
I'm trying to think maybe Ellie Windwalker again? They use the knockbacks? I
just want to see Ellie Destro. I want to see Ellie Destro
too, but I want to see it with a very specific Ellie build. I don't know.
Yeah,
if I
the
want
one
to
shot.
Yeah, the one shot Ellie build where you just stack up 200 Maelstrom and then dump out 4 shocks on Dark Soul Chaos Ball target.
At this point, it's pretty obvious they're not going to win with a melee cleave, and they're not going to win with Destro, Mistweaver, melee. Like, it's just not working for them. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, can we not call it the melee cleave? We actually, me and the replay guys, we came up with a nice name for this comp that Spacestation Gaming has. We called it Down Goes Cleave.
Down goes cleave. Why is that?
Because all they're trying to do is kill the mage before buck.
Ah.
Wow.
Sorry.
Imagine if
Can't
Naruto
believe
had
I finally got a
Cloud9
little
back
bit
then.
of a break from Rich, and here we go, getting betrayed by one of my best friends. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Charles,
man.
I hope I'm still one of your best
I
friends.
can't
though,
see
man.
your guys' faces, but honestly,
Does that mean you'll call me on your walk now, then?
Sid, don't get any ideas. I'll be calling you later, man.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But seriously, on a more serious note, like I really want to see. So I do feel like the Destro Elemental Shaman, that used to be like the wizard comp that reigned supreme. Like, it was the best wizard setup. You just have so much disruption with the Destruction Warlock, with the Elemental Shaman. You have really, really good burst,
You know
consistent
what?
damage, crowd control, lockdown. But I think the thing that
I was
makes
right.
the thing that makes it difficult. I don't know how I feel about this. I think the thing that makes it difficult is a really, really large map. So I'd like to see the Destro Ellie played on kind of a smaller map where you really get control of the Fire Mage and he can't just play max range and go for greater power blasts. So that's something I'd like to see play out. Maybe they've already tried it, it doesn't work, but they have a different idea. It's going to be Blade's Edge Arena for Spacestation Gaming, and they're going to use the knock you off the top of the bridge cleave, which is Mistweaver, Windwalker, and an Elemental Shaman.
Trampoline
So
cleave?
yeah, they're going to be
Nice.
knocking anytime Channel is up top trying to get aggressive. I assume we're going to see a Ring of Peace, a second Ring of Peace, and a Thunderstorm to make sure he is out of position. And I think it's a decent pick here for Space Station Gaming. Definitely could work. I know as a mage, kiting around and trying to make use of this map is definitely difficult sometimes.
If this does work for Space Station Gaming, what are their options after that? I mean, what maps would you choose to repeat the same strategy with knocking people off of this bridge that we're going to see in
And
Blade's
there's nothing
Edge?
quite like Blade's Edge.
All right, well, we'll see if this map choice works out for Space Station Gaming here on Blade's Edge. Cloud9 is up 1-0 against Space Station
I think
Gaming.
in the past, the counter to Destro was actually Aflock. You just played Aflock with
Sid, don't get any
damage.
ideas,
Yeah.
man.
I want to see
That's
an Aflock.
definitely going to
No
work.
one wants to see an athlete lock.
Come
man.
on.
I'm sorry, bro.
I mean,
don't wanna
we
see
could definitely see an
Affleck.
athlete lock, but we're going to see it lose for sure.
Everyone wants
Yeah.
to see the athlete lock. It's a rare endangered species. It needs help.
It needs to remain in like the kind of sanctuary where it is locked away right now. Right now it's just destruction. Okay, and yeah, I like the Windwalker Alley pick. I think this is something that you have a lot of instant the CC, and you have a lot of big damage, and you're gonna have offensive purge for temporal shield. This is a comp that definitely could take somebody down with surprising damage.
Well, I mean, we'll see what kind of damage we're can really find here. Who are they going to go after? The one thing I do like about the Elemental Shaman is you have Purge, and Purge is super effective against mages. Blazing Barrier is really strong, and it actually scales with versatility as well. So the more versatility you see a mage like Wealthy Man stack, the stronger that Blazing Barrier is, and that can be the difference between essentially life and death. And if Smexon can purge that off, he can purge off that Temporal Shield. A lot of the ways the mage keeps himself alive kind of get nullified.
Triple Obsidian Claw for Cloud9. Interesting build there, but Smexon is actually playing a Dwarf, so he'll be able to remove those Obsidian Claws. Chun-Li can with the Diffuse Magic, and then Greki has a lot of tools with Dispel and Revival. Good setup by Space Station Gaming here. Decent damage to follow it up as well, but not enough to get the Cauterize. Cubsy's out of crowd control. Chanimals now pulls the trigger on Infernals, going after Smexon. He jumps off the side of the ramp, trying to heal himself back up through the onslaught. Greki is still Polymorph. Big Chaos Bolt hits there, looking for a second one. Not able to find it. Thunderstormed off the side, and this is where Trampoline Cleave is going to shine. Chanimal drops a Demonic Gateway to get back upstairs, as we see a Ring of Peace trying to knock the other team off the side. not finding it. I mean, the knockback with a huge amount of damage could clutch out a win. But again, it's kind of like trying to win on a gimmick more or less than a consistent strategy. And it's something that's really only going to work on Blade's Edge. But a knockback strategy where you just send Wealthy Man flying into the distance and burst him down before Cubsy can get back to him. I mean, it could work.
I mean, just the way they're positioning and the way they're using their knockbacks right now, they're making it difficult for Chanimal and Wealthy Man to set up on the same target. And I think Cloud9's realizing it, and they're saying, you know what? We're not playing up there anymore. We're going to play down here, and they've decided to make the arena as small as possible. Chanimal is actually going to push in. Gorecki as well. Triple assault here by Spacestation Gaming. Paralyzed into leg sweep onto Cubsy, but it gets shut down a little bit there by Wealthy Man. Dragon's Breath onto Gorecki. If they can get Gorecki in crowd control, this is where they're going to look to burst. The Greater Power Blast gets shut down. Chun-Li single-handedly shuts down and diffuses that situation, but Gorecki could potentially just fall anyways. Is there any damage? No, there is not. Great plays there by Chun-Li with the Ring of Peace, with the Paralyze, with the Spear Hand Strike, keeping Gorecki alive during that setup.
So Gorecki is not running Conflict and Strife. I would love to see Cloud9 try and get Gorecki out in midfield and then swap to him. That could be an option for them. They did it to his Restoration Shaman when he wasn't running Conflict and Strife and killed him like minutes into the game. Wealthy Man stunned up downstairs. Smexon just going to Hex him. No way to remove that. Hex is a good crowd control here for Spacestation Gaming. Chanimal just hiding under the bridge. Chun trying to go at him, but he's now polymorphed. He is taking a bit of damage. He gets thunderstormed away from the pillar. Gorecki's in position. He paralyzes a Greater Pyroblast instead of the healer. Cubsy could roll up here and paralyze Gorecki. Wealthy Man's lobbing out the Greater Pyroblast. This is a tricky map to navigate as there's basically two levels, that upside of the ramp and then the below the bridge. And double stun engaged here by Chun. Smexon's raining terror from above. He's getting a lot of fun with this upper level of the map while Cloud9 are reluctant to just get knocked off over and over. Wealthy Man paralyzed, but even with this good positioning, they're not finding pressure. The counteract magic is going to be very effective to heal through the Elemental Shaman. Gorecki gets stunned up upstairs. They could swap to him. This is what I wanted to see. Infernal stun into Mortal Coil. Mortal Coil, but it's on diminishing return. Gorecki gets a Vitality Conduit, and he is going to stabilize. But being the only teammate that doesn't have conflict, I feel like he's the major point of victory because that leg sweep will hold him in place long enough to kill him. So Gorecki's going to need to be very careful in this matchup.
He definitely will be, as he is going to be a main vulnerability without that Conflict and Strife. And you can bet Cloud9, they're going to be looking for those setups. I mean, there's so much lockdown from Smexon and Chun-Li in the match. It's more than likely we just see a big one-shot here from Cloud9. It's not going to be about really that consistent damage rolling. And so far, this map has worked out okay. Wealthy Man's sitting on the edge. They could use a Ring of Peace and knock him off if they ever get in trouble. I think that's really the nice thing, is they kind of dictate the positioning of the map. Right now you can see Chun-Li knocks Wealthy Man down. They're looking for burst. Gorecki charges in. Great setup here by Spacestation Gaming, but Cubsy with the Trinket Life Cocoon completely diffuses it, and it looks like Wealthy Man will be completely fine. Holds onto the Cauterize, holds onto the Ice Block, but even just netting that Trinket from Cubsy was a great start.
All right, let's see if they can keep it up here. Dampening about to kick off. Cubsy with no Gliders Medallion. Stormkeeper's up. Smexon is Thunder Charge, looking for some big lightning bolts. One lightning bolt, looking to weave it in with another lava burst, and then go for the second one. That Stormkeeper looked like it tickled. Chanimal literally didn't move down in health. Smexon's going to have to try again later. Jumps off the side of the bridge, avoiding those Chaos Bolts and Greater Pyroblasts, getting his Flame Shocks rolling on as many targets as he can to get his lava bursts online. Chun-Li on Chanimal for now, but they're leaving Greater Pyro open. Smexon moving in position to Thunderstorm. Wealthy Man blinks back away from it. Chanimal taking a big hit from Chun on that Fist of Fury, but now Smexon is feared away. Gorecki taking to midfield. This could be dangerous for him if they want to jump on top of Gorecki in any second. Infernals are up at 14, but Wealthy Man gets trampolined off the side. Chanimal gets trampolined off the other side and uses the gateway, gets trampolined again off the side on it. Cubsy gets swapped to. Huge power play by Spacestation Gaming. Absolutely sick. Just knocking Wealthy Man off one side, knock Chanimal off on the other, go right through the middle and get the kill on Cubsy.
The trampoline comp has been successful for Spacestation Gaming today here on Blade's Edge. Cubsy went down so quickly. I looked away for a brief second and he was dead, Zico. How was it just the knockbacks, just the combination of knockbacks that we saw in that match that was the fall for Cubsy there?
I like what you did there. The fall No, it was the.
Oh, that was not.
Play along, play along.
You have to
But-
pretend that it
Credit.
was.
It was. What are we
Just
talking
take
about?
the credit. Yeah, so the trampoline cleave, making the dreams fall here. C9, just not really on the same level as last game. So yeah, they got the knock obviously on the Wealthy Man and then on Chanimal as well, but it was just a super clean setup there. They forced out Cubsy's trinket a little bit prior to that, and they were able to land the leg sweep, have the follow-up sweep. They had insane damage, and I think that's one of the nice things about the Ellie Windwalker is that you can just swap around. You can just swap the Wealthy Man, force out Cubsy's defense by having a big go there, and then you can swap the Cubsy later or continue your assault on the Wealthy Man. Just seems like you have a lot of options.
Did you sneak another one in at the end there? Cloud9's not on the same level
Yeah.
as they were.
Well,
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, my question then for you, Super Tees, we talked about it before this game. Now, what is their option? This isn't really something that's repeatable. There aren't any maps quite like Blade's Edge. Where do they go from here if they want to secure a Game 3 victory?
I mean, Chanimal could just play Conflict. He was also running Conduit. So in that game, I think the only targets that were going to die were Cubsy and Gorecki. And that map was really good to be able to get Cubsy isolated, so they can't play Blade's Edge Arena again. And I'm just trying to think if there is any other... I mean, you could maybe do something similar on Dalaran with the Ellie Windwalker and the other levels. It's not nearly as devastating, though, as Blade's Edge Arena. Nothing else is really popping out to mind other than that map to be able to do the same strategy. I want to see them try Ellie Destro on Tolvaron, because we all know Cloud9's going to Tolvaron.
Yeah, it's already been decided.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually had a little smirk on my face. I was like, yeah, I know
quick...
exactly where we're going.
Yeah, that was a quick lock-in of Tolvaron Arena by Cloud9. Spacestation Gaming, they're going to be going on that Windwalker Ellie again with, of course, Gorecki on that Mistweaver. Venriki, what do you think about that choice?
I think it is not a bad choice. I mean... They won the game with this composition, right? I mean, map may have had a huge something to do with that, but at the same time, they are not winning with anything else. So this is looking like their best bet. Try it on a bigger map. I'm curious to see how they play this one out. I think it's going to be for Spacestation Gaming all about just playing back potentially. I don't think they can play in the open for too long. I think Smexon will end up getting really, really abused, but it's going to be about those hit and run strategies. Try to go for those big all-in one-shots with the Mistweaver and the Windwalker crowd control. But for Cloud9, they're going to probably be feeling very confident here on Tolvaron Arena. I don't even remember. When's the last time? I think the last team to ever beat Cloud9 on Tolvaron Arena was probably Colo playing Rogue Mage Paladin like 2 years ago. So I think this is definitely a comfort zone for Cloud9.
2 years and like a career ago. Doesn't compete anymore, right?
He's retired like twice now. So
yeah.
Oh, 2 careers ago then.
Yeah.
So the other thing about we saw it do this Windwalker Ellie comp do really well, obviously on Blade's Edge Arena. What about it that may work? Obviously, we just said that Cloud9, this is sort of their home turf here on Tolvaron. What about this comp might work that Spacestation Gaming is playing here?
It can kill a Mistweaver.
Well, it can kill the Mage and the Mistweaver. I think that's the good thing about it. You don't necessarily need to get a lot of spells out on the target that you're hitting. That's the beauty of the Ellie Shaman. You can kind of just sneak behind a pillar, load up your Stormkeeper, and then when you do the paralyze into stun on Gorecki, on Cubsy, then the Ellie Shaman doesn't actually need to stand there and cast like a big Chaos Bolt or something. You can just stand there and kind of zap people from having that Stormkeeper ready to go. Or if you already charged up, Maelstrom, you can just go in there with a couple of Earth Shocks, and it's going to be big damage that you have to respond to with them.
Well, the map, the gates on this map are opening soon. Cloud9 versus Spacestation Gaming. They're all tied up. Let's see if Spacestation Gaming can get this comp to work here on Tolvaron, or is Cloud9 going to take it home with another win?
Well, this is a good map for Cloud9. There's no question about it. Spacestation Gaming, if they can win this map, this has huge implications for the rest of the series and honestly, the rest of the tournament. So definitely curious to see how this one plays out if Spacestation Gaming can find kind of a win condition, because if they can, I think they have the possibility of winning this entire tournament. It might just all come down to this map on Tolvaron. If they can pull it off, it's going to be huge for this team.
All right, buckle up. I think this one's going to be a long one. Mage lock on Tolvaron Arena. Spacestation Gaming closed it out on Blade's Edge Arena with that clutch double Ring of Peace knockback push onto Cubsy, but doing that here will be very difficult. They don't have that upper and lower level to bounce people around with. Perhaps they can use Ring of Peace, though, to pin their target against a wall. That could be an option if they're able to get to the target. Greater Pyros are already flying in. Smexen grounds one of them. Weltyman blinks in, counterspells the Hex. Looks for another Greater Pyro. Infernals are called in. Greater Pyro blink back. Smexen has no grounding. Is he going to be able to survive this? Looks like he is. Not just taking no damage at all. Wealthy Man interrupted on Polymorph instantly by Smexen, activating that Primal Fire Ellie, ramping up his damage, going after Chanimal for now. So on the large map, just hitting the closest target. Chanimal is closer to Gorecki than Wealthy Man, so they're attacking him. And then if that changes, they're likely to switch to Wealthy Man instead. Play at the pillar, maybe wait for dampening. Now they're actually going in aggressively. Gorecki double Chi torpedoes in, but gets intercepted. Both monks are caught in a paralyze as Chun-Li supports them. They're going to swap the Cubsy maybe? Double leg sweep. They could if they wanted. They're cleaving 2 targets down. They go for a second leg sweep out. Big push by Spacestation Gaming, but they don't get the kill. And now Gorecki's in trouble. Counter engagement. Gorecki immediately has to trade Gladius Medallion and Life Cocoon, and I feel like he's devastated from that. They stacked them up for 2 stuns in a row, didn't get anything from Cubsy, and then 1 stun turnaround, and Gorecki has to use his most valuable cooldown. Cloud9 get a good lead.
Yeah, definitely a really nice offensive push there by Cloud9, reversing that pressure. But quite honestly, I think we have to say Spacestation Gaming did a pretty good job of diffusing that as well. It could have been a lot worse. Getting that double stun set up actually allowed them to delay that go and actually throw Cloud9 off just a little bit. So nicely done defensively there by Spacestation Gaming. However, Cloud9 still able to push through, get the trinket from Gorecki, which is obviously a huge victory. And we can see Chanimal, he still has the Dark Soul. Infernals coming up in 35 seconds. Wealthy Man, if he can reset his combustion, I don't think he's going to be able to, but still, if he just gets some instant damage, if he can somehow find a greater Pyroblast and they can set up on Gorecki once again, the game could just be over. So definitely look out for that. Cloud9, I think they're going to try to play it patient, wait with the Infernals, with the Dark Soul, with the Chaos Bolt, with everything, essentially, to make a big power play on Gorecki.
All right, power play opportunities for Cloud9. Gorecki's set up in the Mortal Coil. Are they going to land the leg? They do land the leg sweep. This could be devastating. Smexen needs to help. He thunderstorms Chanimal away, but Wealthy Man's still hammering down. Gorecki stays alive. Good support by Spacestation Gaming. Now Gorecki's rolling in. He wants to get crowd control. He's trying to get a leg sweep. Cubsy's running away. He does manage to land it. Chanimal could be in trouble. Chun-Li getting spam polymorphed at the moment. Gorecki ports out of midfield. He can't afford to stay out there for too long, facing down the Wizards of Cloud9. And both teams are going to take a moment of pause while those leg sweeps reset. It seems like that's where all of the power comes on these teams, is the leg sweep stun, and then pairing that up with a Dark Soul. Welterman sitting through a full Hex, a bit annoying for him. Windshield on the polymorph. Smexen doing everything that he can to make this game difficult for Weltyman, but Weltyman's now finding greater Pyroblasts. He got 2, I believe, on Chun, so Gorecki can activate Vitality Conduit on Chun-Li to heal through those greater Pyros. Smexen pushes forward to interrupt them. Nice double Cataclysm here on Chanimal, hitting Gorecki and Smexen, getting Immolate on 2 targets for 1 cast. Still greater Pyro a threat. They're kind of just letting Weltyman do whatever he wants right now, and finally, Weltyman will get Chun-Li's attention as he rolls over to try and disrupt some of his damage. Drestigath power play, huge damage on that leg sweep,
so
but
close.
denied of the Cauterize by that Life Cocoon. Once again, living on a prayer of that Drestigath crit. Chun gets blasted, though. He spent a lot of time out in midfield. Has to Karma now as well. Will he survive this? I almost wanted to see him ice block that. I wonder if he's worried he won't get it back again in time, but it could have been a nice little power move while Gorecki was polymorphed. Although Cloud9, not really known for taking too many risks. Weltyman interrupted out in midfield, but now Chanimal is left open and he's got Dark Soul. Let's see what he gets done here. Double Mortal Coil, gets paralyzed. Chun is like, alright, that's Dark Soul, time to run. But Smexen got left out in midfield. He has Grounding Totem though, so Gorecki rolls out. Cubsy's going to drink while he sees Spacestation Gaming running away. Cubsy aware he needs to drink anytime they retreat so that there is at least something going for their team while the other side avoids damage. And we got a bit of a reset here, 30 seconds to dampening.
You remember a bit of a history lesson, not that far ago, but I believe, I'm trying to remember at what tournament it was where we saw, I believe it was Wildcard Gaming, actually implement the double Shaman Windwalker against Cloud9 and had an incredibly close series, and we actually thought they probably should have won that matchup. So a little bit of a history lesson there. Spacestation Gaming, they're going to be implementing this composition as well, and it's looked good. I mean, Wealthy Man literally held on to his Cauterize 1% HP, was able to hold on. Cubsy keeping him alive with the Life Cocoon, but these burst opportunities for Spacestation Gaming, they're looking great so far. And like I said, I mean, Spacestation Gaming, a lot of close calls, it's looking good. If they can win this match, I mean, that might just be, you know, that might spell out the rest of the tournament for us here today and this weekend for North America. So definitely a lot of implications if Spacestation Gaming can finally sort of crack the code that is Cloud9's Mage Lock Monk.
Yeah, Spacestation Gaming looking to make a good performance here. They were dominating in the community events earlier this year, but since the AWC Cup stage, they've been struggling to get that first place finish that they got every single tournament earlier on. Cloud9 has leveled up a lot since then, and now they're kind of the North American team to beat. They've got 1 point on the board, though. That Matt Blades Edge Arena paid off a lot. Gorecki rolls up, looking for crowd control, gets intercepted by Chanimal, and now Polymorph by Wealthy Man, but they make a mistake of stacking up. Chun punishes with the double leg sweep, still going after Wealthy Man. They win shear the follow-up Polymorph. Chanimal not going to look for a fear. Cubsy now in a paralyze, and pushing on Wealthy Man. They're going to go for the Dressagath. Stormkeeper popped here, big lightning bolts. Wealthy Man temporal shields, absorbs all the hits, blinks back out into midfield. Chanimal going for Chaos Bolts. Is Chun going to retreat away? He doesn't have many cooldowns right now. He's playing a dangerous game out in midfield. Gorecki, realizing this, activates Life Cocoon. He's going to be totally fine, but there's Combustion, there's Dark Soul. There's no Life Cocoon, there's no Karma, there's no Diffuse. Chanimal, whoa, where is this damage coming from right now? Surprising pressure from Chun. Double Dragon's Breath from Wealthy Man, looking for a double ring. Doesn't find it. Going for Greater Pyro instead. There's a big opportunity to kill Chun-Li, though. They just got Fort Brew before their cooldowns. They're swapping to Gorecki. Cubsy catches him in the leg sweep. He has to Trinket once again, respecting that Combustion. But he didn't activate Dark Soul, so Chanimal still has that as a win condition. Perhaps he's going to save that as sort of like an opportunity to set up drinks later in the game and try and drag this game on. Double leg sweep. Vitality Conduit on Chun-Li there, maybe? Doesn't seem like it 100% necessary. Cubsy repositions. Wealthy Man goes back out into midfield. Smexon's trying to chase him down, looking for a Hex. Unfortunately, on diminishing return, not going to get too much value there. Chanimal, Fist of Fury flying onto him. Vitality Conduit to stabilize. Greater Pyro's flying in on Chun. He Karmas to redirect the damage on Chanimal, but they actually crack through the Karma. Smexon drops a grounding totem on one of those Greater Pyros. He's trying to move in range of Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man blinks right on top of Gorecki, lands a Polymorph, and he's out in the open. Chanimal could Dark Soul here and maybe go after Gorecki. Leg sweep's coming up in 3 seconds if Cubsy can get there. Gorecki ports away immediately, realizing that he could die if he's stunned out in the open to a Dark Soul. Gorecki needs to avoid Chanimal for another 55 seconds.
Yep, definitely needs to be a little bit careful. 20% dampening at this point. Wealthy Man channeling out some Greater Power Blast. Chun-Li with the Diffuse Magic, holding on to it just now. Vitality Conduit from Gorecki manages to keep him alive and in the fight. The nice double stun coming in from Chun-Li, clotheslining both Wealthy Man and Chanimal. Beautiful Dressagath as well. Can they push through? Temporal Shield looking to deny from Wealthy Man, popping him off completely. If we look at mana, this is actually really, really even, but I would say right now, Spacestation Gaming, they are behind on defensive cooldowns. With Chun-Li caught into a stun, a little bit of a vulnerability, although with a preemptive Fortifying Brew, not really going to be taking too much damage. Wealthy Man getting knocked away, and I think that's one of the nice things about the Double Monk as well, is you have essentially a ranged interrupt with Ring of Peace if you need it. Chun-Li using the Ring of Peace to keep Cubsy in combat, I believe, to try to deny the drinks, but I mean, his mana is just so high, it doesn't even seem like it really matters at this point. Big all-in attempt here onto Smexon. Gorecki uses the Life Cocoon, actually onto Chun-Li, I believe, and Wealthy Man just changing up the pressure here onto Smexon. And now this is where we see Cloud9 start really developing some momentum, but there's a counter-aggression here onto Wealthy Man. Life Cocoon trades from Cubsy as both teams are burning through their defensive cooldowns.
Look how far away Chun is right now from Gorecki. Gorecki tried to drink, but he got sniped by a Cataclysm. How is Chun going to get back to Gorecki without dying? He rolls back out into midfield. Looks like they're stable. Cubsy drinking to full mana once again, making sure that he's always got that advantage. Chun-Li getting blasted. He's still out in midfield. He doesn't have many answers. Is he going to retreat away? Cubsy's rolling up. Gorecki trinkets out of the paralyze into a full stun. That could be lights out for Chun. Ring of Frost to follow up. Shadow Fury. Beautiful crowd control by Cloud9. Chun gets Ring of Peace off the pillar, but they just don't have the damage just yet, though. Mortal Coil. Wealthy Man wind sheared. Not enough damage to find the kill. Chun recovers with the life cocoon, moving back out onto Wealthy Man, getting set up for a push. Grecki rolls out, lands a double stun, retreating back to the closest pillar. Cubsy pulling his team back up in that leg sweep, not finding any opportunities. Touch of Death available. Sky Fury Totem as well from Smexen. Could combo that together for a big push. Question is Chanimal actually the target? They're leaving Wealthy Man open. He gets one greater, blinks back for the second. Grounding Totem, gonna eat that one up. Chanimal tried to kill the Grounding Totem instantly with his Fell Hunter there. That was pretty clutch, but not able to kill it fast enough. Grecki, I believe, is trying to drink at the moment. He's getting some ticks. He's going back up to full mana. Smexen just playing defense at the moment, intercepting them as dampening continues to rise for this long haul. And this is one of those matchups where Space Station Gaming are just playing on a knife's edge the whole time, and they're basically praying for critical strikes to find a win. If Earthshock doesn't crit, if Dressigat doesn't crit, I don't know how Cloud9 are going to die. But if they get those crits, Space Station Gaming could walk away with it. See if they can stay alive long enough to find that opportunity as they're pinned at the pillar, and Cloud9 have control.
I mean, it's such a large map. It's really difficult to deal with all those polymorphs, all of those fears. And Cubsy basically has the advantage of being able to position wherever he wants with the safety of basically Chanimal and Wealthy Man being turrets defending him. So he can sit down for drinks, recover, and we can see at 40% dampening, he still has a mana lead over Space Station Gaming, but they're going for a big all-in one-shot on Chanimal. Vitality Conduit comes in from Cubsy. That'll once again keep Chanimal alive, dealing with that burst damage quite nicely. Cubsy, of course, he does have the life cocoon as well if he needs to. Chanimal holding on to the unending resolve, and we've seen Chanimal time and time again really, really greet it with that unending resolve, not using it unless he absolutely has to. In the meantime, Chun-Li, he's going to be looking to set something up here with his Touch of Karma, but Smexen, he's left in the midfield. If he gets caught into a stun, this is a really scary situation right now for Space Station Gaming. Polymorph onto Grecki. Smexen uses the Astral Shift in order to survive. Grecki buys enough time to get the life cocoon, and they manage to hold on. But now without that Astral Shift, it's going to be difficult. And that's the problem for the Elemental Shaman is, he's reasonably mobile with the Ghost Wolf, but man, when he's crossing the map, if he gets caught in crowd control, he's kind of a sitting duck, and that's when Cloud9 can really try to go after Smexen and create that opening for pressure.
Oh, Grecki in a full polymorph. Chanimal baiting Chun-Li. He roots him up on his flying serpent kick, fears him away on the Touch of Death advance. Nice play by Chanimal, totally negating Chun-Li's assault. Cubsy getting in position. Leg sweep coming up in 18 seconds. He wants to be out in midfield as well. Wealthy Man gets bounced away from the pillar as we see Smexen out in midfield. Space Station Gaming are going for their push onto Wealthy Man. With this push, they need to find a Cauterize, preferably an Ice Block as well. If they don't, they're going to be so far behind at almost 50% dampening. At least they've managed to keep their mana on par, but a full polymorph slips through. Greater Pyro is being channeled out. Chun can't really go anywhere. Flying Serpent Kick backed on target, but Greater Pyros are being cast. No Grounding Totem. Chun diffuses. They overlap it with the Life Cocoon. Maybe a bit of panic for Space Station Gaming. They paralyze Cubsy. They go for the Drestigath. No crit and no block found. They switch back over to Chanimal, swapping out the Vitality Conduit. Trying to get some pressure here, but he's looking pretty sturdy in this position. I like Smexen's positioning at Cubsy's pillar. He can interrupt Cubsy if he needs to, as well as a duck for cover. Smexen looking for a Hex, trying to fake out any potential interrupts. He fakes the counter spell, goes for a Hex, gets stunned on it. Cubsy looks like he's rolling out. Grecki ports away from him. Smexen is still just pushing for the kill. He's taking a big gamble here deep into damp, and he gets stunned up with no way out. He just used his Dwarf Racial. Very unfortunate for Smexen. Not able to escape the stun and blasted out of Tolvaron. Cloud9 move to match point.
That is going to be a 2-1 for Cloud9, like you said, Sid. That means only one more win for these guys, and they are sending Space Station Gaming down to the lower bracket. And Zico, it really seems like there is no end in sight for Cloud9's dominance on this.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It looks like another weekend here, another day at the office for Cloud9. The trampoline cleave is not going to be that effective when there's sand under you. But yeah.
There were a few moments, though, in there, I feel like, Ben, where we saw Space Station Gaming maybe able to get a kill.
It's just like game number one. And Sid was calling it out throughout the game. When we see Drestigath, it's going to look like really, really scary bursts. It's like, wow, this trinket, it hits so hard. They have this big moment, this big opportunity. But without that trinket, it just seems like their burst damage just isn't enough. They don't have what it really needs to push through. I think Wealthy Man has really figured it out. I mean, you're the target in most matchups as the Fire Mage now. A lot of teams, they don't go after the Destruction Warlocks because if they do, then the Fire Mage can really punish them with greater Power Blast. However, Wealthy Man has said, you know what, I'm just going to literally gear as a tank. So the most versatility you could ever run, Azurite traits for pure versatility, Honor talents for maximum, reduction in critical strike, temporal shield, basically everything you need to survive as long as possible. And it just seems like if your strategy is to go after Wealthy Man, a lot of teams have not been able to kill him because his defensive plays are great. He's backed up by, Cubsy and Chanimal. And the one game we did see Space Station Gaming win, it was going after Cubsy. They couldn't kill Wealthy Man. They just had to go after Cubsy. So definitely not an easy thing to do, but I think if they can, find that opportunity on a smaller map, we could see them tie up the series.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to see those trinkets that Venriki was talking about, you can go to awc.gcd.tv. You can see what both of these teams are using for their gear and talents as well. And Super T, where do they go from here? Ben talked about it a little bit, some of his ideas. Do they maybe play that same comp and try and go after Cubsy instead?
I mean, yeah, they need a small map.
Or what are their options
Greki
here?
isn't so susceptible to crowd control. They can just bob and weave around the pillars, do some damage, try and punish Cubsy if he overextends. The small map is definitely going to pay them a lot of favors, but I don't expect Cloud9 to really make any changes. Although, I mean, they could. I feel like, could they play Snuts on a small map? If they wanted to run Windwalker Lock, or maybe they're afraid of mirroring. Space Station Gaming will go for the mirror. It's one of those things where it's like, we never lose his Mage Lock, so we're not going to change it unless you make us. And that's what I see being locked in here. I don't think we're going to see any changes.
It looks like also I have a bit of a desync issue, so if it sounds like people are interrupting, they're not.
Yeah.
I'm just a jerk.
But hopefully hopefully we'll work on that during this.
Like, we hate
they're just
Aya,
really
that's why we
rude
just
actually.
talk over her instead of. It's totally not desynced.
But yeah, it looks like they are going on to Hook Point. Any thoughts on this map choice from
it's going to be an
Space
explosive
Station Gaming?
match for sure. I think it's going to be a much quicker game in general because I think Space Station Gaming are going to go very aggressively. They're going to look for those setups that we've seen on Goreki, trying to get a paralyze into a leg sweep there. They can force out his trinket and then maybe replicate that a little bit later. But if they do that, I think Wealthy Man is going to just be open and just have a good time on that mage, landing a lot of polys. Those pillars are very small, so polymorphing, Mistweavers is going to be pretty easy for him with that shimmer. And I think it's going to be an explosive match here.
Yep, we'll see if Space Station Gaming can maybe tie it back up, or is Cloud9 going to send Space Station Gaming to the lower bracket with a 3-1
Let's see if they can do it here. They're on match point. They got a nice. I really liked their win on Blade's Edge. That seemed like the first kind of unique situation I've seen a team win a game. I don't think anyone's ever won a game like that. Knocking both Wealthy Man and Chanimal off the side with 2 rings and going right down the middle to Cubsy. That was probably easily the coolest kill I've seen in WoW arena history, but it's very difficult to pull off when you don't have that map to play around here. So let's see if the small map works out for them. They could take it to a game 5, but then they're going to need something on a big map like Ashamane's if they want to best Cloud9 overall in the series. Wealthy Man is taking a bit of damage here initially, but Cubsy looks like he's far back in a good position. Goreki's moving forward alongside Smexen. They're getting ready to go on top of Cubsy. Are they going to go after Cubsy, I wonder? Goreki switched his gear to Conflict and Strife. He expects Cloud9 to kill him, whereas Cubsy is not running Conflict and Strife. And look at this. They immediately go on top of Goreki. They stun lock him up. And because he's running Conflict and Strife, his health might even go up at the end of the stun chain. Maybe not up. Actually, he's going to die through Conflict and Strife. All right, survives at 10%. If he wasn't running Conflict and Strife, he was definitely dead there without using a way to break
His
out of the
health
stun.
is going to go up.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
It could have.
But Smexen actually is the one that saved him there. He trinketed and used his grounding totem to soak up some of that combustion damage from Wealthy Man, and that was a really close call. But Smexen using his trinket allows Goreki to hold on to his trinket, so if we don't see any overlaps there, that could be a good way for Cubsy to still up.
Yeah. I also think it's really important to note one thing about Conflict and Strife is it actually is not, you don't get the benefit during Infernal Stun. So if they can time most of their bursts during the Infernal Stun and not the leg sweep, and the Mortal Coil not the leg sweep, that's when we see, kind of Gorecki just explode as fast as you can possibly imagine. But 2 minutes into the game, there's been one nice setup onto Gorecki. Who are Space Station Gaming going to go after? Looks like Wealthy Man is still going to be the primary target in the match. Smexin now charging in, looking for potential crowd control here. They're actually going after Cubsy. Big Drestigath. Can they take him down? It's Trinket Cocoon, and that is what I like to see. Good setup there, and I have to say, I think that was just 100% Chun-Li. He didn't even use the Touch of Death, so there is a huge opportunity to take down Cubsy. What I want to see is wait for Chun-Li's leg sweep, go with the Paralyze, Touch of Death, leg sweep from Chun-Li, leg sweep from Gorecki, and if they can pull that off with even any damage from Smexin, I can see Cubsy just absolutely getting obliterated. But obviously Cloud9 is going to have some ways to defuse that. But if they can pull that off, that's a game-winning situation.
To 22 seconds away from that moment, that's how they won their one victory on Blades Edge Arena, was with that crowd control chain. Let's see if Space Station Gaming can pull it off here again. They're just biding their time. 12 seconds until Chun-Li's leg sweep. Chanimal will be ready, though. He has Infernals. He has Mortal Coil. They really need to make sure that Chanimal can't disrupt them, paralyze the Warlock, try and Ring of Peace him away from Cubsy when they go for the push. Chanimal relaying that Demonic Gateway, getting ready. Smex is pushing forward. They've got the double leg sweep. When are they going to pull? They roll in. There's the Paralyze. They can kill Cubsy here if Chanimal doesn't save him. He calls in the Infernals. Goes for the double Dragon's Breath. Goes for the double Shadow Fury. They stall all of the damage. They totally shut down Space Station Gaming. Cubsy survives the swap.
I would have loved to see Paralyze there onto Chanimal. Unfortunately, not going to happen there, and Chanimal expertly diffuses that situation. Cubsy is going to have his Trinket rotating back up, so that kill window now that Space Station Gaming had is pretty much completely lost, and now once again it's going to be C9 here looking to set something up. Right now they're going for Chun-Li. Greater Pyroblast is going to connect. Gorecki is going to use that Life Cocoon right there. They're going to polymorph Chun-Li here, just CC him on that defense of that Life Cocoon. Chun is going to not have his Touch of Karma or his Fortifying Brew, so all of a sudden there's a big opening here onto Chun. If they can get some kind of CC onto Gorecki, they could potentially take him down.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Wealthy Man's still looking for those greater power blasts, but Chun-Li has been able to really deny him. And on the small map, things are actually looking really, really good here for Space Station Gaming. I think what we're likely going to see from Cloud9 once again is trying to go after Gorecki as well, or later on in dampening, maybe take down Smexin if he gets interrupted and caught in the open, like we did see on Tolvaron. Gorecki now charging in, Paralyze onto Cubsy, as they go for a huge burst on Wealthy Man. Temporal Shield and Blazing Barrier are enough for him to stay alive, buying Cubsy at the moment he needs to get the heals out. And ultimately, Wealthy Man will survive. But that was a really nice attempt there by Space Station Gaming once again. But I mean, it just seems like they commit so much to Wealthy Man, and they just are not able to get through his defense. He always has the Cauterize. He always has the Ice Block. I don't think they've been able to force it out once this series, and I just don't know if I'm a big fan using the Drestigath on Wealthy Man. I want to see the setups onto Cubsy as consistently and as often as possible.
I mean, Wealthy Man's, like you said, he's running Netherwind armor. The only way he dies is if he gets crit. So the Honor Talent reduces the chance that he'll be crit by 15%. And it's not like people are running crit, so it's basically guaranteed that he won't get crit, which means he won't die. So I do think you're right. Cubsy needs to be the target. Chanimal in between seems to be working. They do get a little bit of momentum on him, but they leave Wealthy Man open. He gets one Greater Pyro, looking for the second one. Smexin grounding totems. Wealthy Man goes for a third. Smexin pushes up to disrupt it with the Wind Shear. This map could work out for Space Station Gaming. They are showing signs of life. That all in on Cubsy as opportunity, and the pressure that they've been showing on Chanimal. Greater Pyro on Smexin, but Gorecki's in position. Gorecki's rolling forward to get on top of Cubsy. He Ring of Pieces Cubsy in the room, trapping him with the Paralyze. Wealthy Man getting bursted down by that Drestigath. Big Earthshock follow up by Smexin. Lightning Lasso, beautiful combo. Cauterize will finally trigger. Space Station Gaming keep themselves in the game.
Beautiful push right there, and this is the strength of having that purge on your team. Wealthy Man did a beautiful preemptive Temporal Shield before that attack, but it got immediately purged off from Smexin. Combined with that LA burst, with that Stormkeeper, combined with the big Earth Shocks and the Lightning Lasso, they're able to force out that Cauterize. That's going to be a big win, because now all of a sudden there's going to be that 2-target pressure that we've been talking about. Now all of a sudden Wealthy Man could be a target, or Cubsy could be a target, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Cubsy to preemptively, kind of prevent that from happening. So Space Station Gaming got a big lead there, and now they're just waiting for those cooldowns to come back up so that they can make another push. As soon as that paralyzed leg sweep combo is ready again, we can expect Cubsy to be put into one of those, and then maybe another setup here onto Wealthy Man. Chun-Li's going to use his Touch of Karma aggressively, and there it is. Paralyze going to come in. Gorecki there, beautifully timed there with the Paralyze. Not going to use the leg sweep though, because Cubsy did preemptively use that Vitality Conduit, and now Chun-Li is in a little bit of trouble, going to get that Life Cocoon.
Yeah, and Life Cocoon will keep Chun-Li alive as Space Station Gaming is still trying to push forward and get the damage rolling on Channel. I really wonder if they're going to have the pressure later on. I'm actually going to check Chun-Li's talents. He is running Tiger Eye Brew, so I think the strategy for Space Station Gaming is to just try to go for these one-shots, play the game as safely as possible, go after Wealthy Man, but when Chun-Li has big stacks of Tiger Eye Brew and dampening gets high, I think it's going to be Chanimal that is, the main target of this matchup. They're going to sit on him, try to get out that big Windwalker Monk consistent damage, but you have to be really careful, because if you leave Wealthy Man alone for too long, those Greater Power Blasts become absolutely horrifying. Cubsy right now in a leg sweep. Can they get his Trinket? Let's see what they can get going. It's actually, they're going after Wealthy Man, and it was a beautiful preemptive Life Cocoon there. But actually, Wealthy Man with no Cauterize is a little bit vulnerable for another big setup coming in from Space Station Gaming. Without that cheat death effect, if we do see Drestigath crit, it could just outright be the end of the game.
Well, let's see if he can find that opportunity. Wealthy Man's being left open again. Grounding Totem is over. Greater Pyro gets Ring of Peace. They used the Life Cocoon on Chun-Li as well to soak some of that damage. Cubsy sits down for a sip. He's getting a lot of mana. That Polymorph on Smexin was well timed. He wanted to stop Cubsy from drinking. Lightning Lasso around the corner, avoiding the spell lock for a moment. Did develop a lot of damage onto Wealthy Man. Perhaps like a Hex Lightning Lasso combo or something along those lines. I guess it's the Fell Hunter that's really what's preventing him from using that Lightning Lasso. I feel like the Lasso would be a way better engagement than the leg sweep if they can manage to get that without it being stopped by Chanimal. Smexin just getting feared around in circles. Wealthy Man 1v1ing Chun-Li out in the corner. Greater Pyro, Chun ducks around the fence, line of sighting it, going back on target now. Wealthy Man looks for polymorphs, interrupted. Now Greater Pyros, Gorecki rolls up, he finds crowd control first. Wealthy Man temporal shields right before the Drestigath hits and the Earthshock. This is going to be a big temp. He's back to full health. Chanimal calling in the cavalry. Infernals have landed. Double leg sweep by Cubsy. Chanimal out of crowd control, looking to ramp up some damage. They're actually just going for Immolates and Fears, not really even going for Chaos Bolts. Gorecki in a polymorph. Good opportunity to develop a lot of damage onto Chun-Li or Smexin. Smexin in a good position where he's not really a target. They have to go after Chun. Gorecki going to respect that setup. Trade Life Cocoon once again. Double Shadow Fury, but no follow-up. Wealthy Man taking some big Earthshock hits. Cubsy going to stabilize him with the Vitality Conduit. Stormkeeper casted here by Smexin. Feared away, though, by Chanimal. Chaos Bolt's lobbed in. No significant sticky damage just yet. Wealthy Man dips low, but no crowd control on Cubsy. Should pull him back into the fight pretty easily. Based on how this has been going, it looks like a much better game for Space Station Gaming, but Cloud9 is one of those teams that they're so experienced in dampening that even if they're behind, I'm not sure that they'll actually lose.
Yeah, Cloud9, well, I want to say Space Station Gaming has been in a commanding position, and right now, Wealthy Man is in massive trouble. He's going to use that Ice Block on that Touch of Death right there. Another paralyzed leg sweep here onto Cubsy, and Wealthy Man is a great target right now, but we are starting to hit that point in dampening where Chanimal does become the better target, and the problem is that you're going to leave Wealthy Man open to spam out those Greater Pyroblasts, so they can only really go for Chanimal if Smexin has grounding, if they have Wind Shear, if they have Ring of Peace, things to kind of interrupt the Wealthy Man while they're going for Chanimal. So for now, I think they should keep going after Wealthy Man, see if they can land any more CC. Right now they get the Life Cocoon there forced. Combustion gets popped here as well. Wealthy Man trying to get a little counter pressure going. Chanimal now going to be the target since the Wealthy Man has that Life Cocoon. But I think they want to get back onto Wealthy Man. His Cauterize did just rotate back up. Cubsy still has his Trinket, so they rather trade the Ice Block and Wealthy Man's defense than trade Cubsy's Trinket, because he did die earlier. And now Smexin finally getting a lightning lasso off. You see Smexin running around the corner there, trying to line of sight the pet as he's channeling that lasso. But Chanimal's doing a great job as well with that pet control.
Yeah. And it looks like Chun-Li will be forced to run away, but Wealthy Man, with the Cauterize rotating back up, things aren't looking too bad for Cloud9 here. I mean, Cubsy, he has his Trinket, he has Life Cocoon coming up in just 8 seconds, and I do think it's the point of the game where you can go after Chanimal. You have Tiger Eye Brew, Chanimal, 42% dampening. It is going to start really taxing Cubsy's mana to take him down, but you have to be very careful not allowing Wealthy Man to get too much rolling in the game with those greater Pyroblasts. So good shutdown on Wealthy Man. We need crowd control on him. They need to deny the CC as well. Wealthy Man sneaks in a Polymorph. Who are they going to go after? It looks like Chun-Li, he's just going to trade. He's going after Chanimal. Do they have the burst to actually take him down? Doesn't look like it just yet. A nice Ring of Peace from Cubsy denies that big Fist of Fury coming in from Chun-Li. And Cubsy positioned really far away from the fight right now. He just wants to keep Chanimal and Wealthy Man as healthy as possible, heal as efficiently as possible, and just allow them as much time as they need to try to set up a big one-shot. Chun-Li trades out the Fortifying Brew, and he's continuing this pressure. And you can really see, I mean, at this point, Chun-Li can actually take down Chanimal. I mean, just one good crowd control chain, I could easily see Chanimal falling, but they're going after Smexin. Greki with a beautiful counter engagement with that Life Cocoon. That's more than enough to keep Smexin alive. And Chun-Li gets feared away. Cloud9 managed to stabilize a little bit, but here's a big offensive push with Touch of Death.
All right, let's see what they can get done here. Life Cocoon likely denying anything that they could get done there. As you say, Chanimal becomes more vulnerable at this point in the game. They've been getting Wealthy Man's cooldowns. Nice Lightning Lasso out of line, but Temporal Shield by Wealthy Man. And Vitality Conduit pulls him into the fight. Combustion gets popped. They're going after Smexin. Uses that Fire Blood to remove the Ignite Dot off himself, removing a lot of pressure. Likely an Obsidian Claw as well. Stormkeeper getting lined up here. Smexin dropping that Sky Fury Totem. Some big lightning bolts over onto Chanimal, but Chun is still going after Wealthy. Now getting back on Chanimal. Big Drestigath while Cubsy's stunned up. They're pushing for the kill. Are they going to find it and take Cloud9 to game 5? Greki gets intercepted with Polymorph. Smexin and Chun-Li duck for cover. Chanimal wants to push in and push them over, but he is susceptible to going down if he's not careful. They catch Greki out in midfield off the back of that Polymorph. Remember, he's Conflict and Strife, so they don't really want to commit to him in the stun. They're just trying to make him panic. Wealthy Man gets Ring of Peace. He blinks into midfield. Chun is still low on health. He has to get Life Cocoon. He's feared on his Life Cocoon. Wealthy Man gets Ring of Peace on his Greater Pyro. Great denials back and forth from both sides, with Dark Souls now popped. Chanimal is a big threat if they are not careful. Grounding Totem available. Smexin in position. Grounds a Greater. They're pushing Chanimal around. Dampening finally, making it so they can dent Chanimal. Life Cocoon available, but Greki gets spell locked. Chun could be in trouble. He wants to push for the win, but if he does, he could die. Everybody on the side of Space Station Gaming in trouble. Cubsy gets stunned up by Chun. He's going for the kill on Cubsy. Isn't going to find it by himself out in the corner. Vitality Conduit denies the kill. Cloud9 begin to recover. They still hold on to their defense. They have caught, they have blocked, they have an enemy resolved. The only thing they don't have is mana. If Space Station Gaming can stop Cubsy from drinking, Smexin's little poke damage with these lightning bolts is eventually going to stick. Chun-Li chasing down Chanimal. He's got Karma. He's trying to go for the kill while they have momentum and the mana advantage. Can they keep it? Cubsy gets Ring of Peace. 1 inch away from Ring of Peace permanently into the wall. If those Ring of Pieces were slightly forward, Chanimal would have died right here. But now an ending resolve should be more than a trade. Cubsy rolls up. He's got Leg Sweep. Who's he going to go for the stun on? Greki's positioned far into the fight. He paralyzes Cubsy. Is he going to roll in for the Leg Sweep himself? Not able to find it. Both monks are now teetering with very minimal mana. Chanimal is falling more and more behind. Fort Brew, Life Cocoon, big shield there. Even still at, 62% dampening. Wealthy Man going to activate the Temporal Shield, try and soak some hits here. Pop the Combustion, go for the kill on Smexin. He gets Astral Shift off this time around. Unlikely that we see him die through that cooldown. Maybe, though, interrupt onto Greki. This could be game over. Chun and Smexin are floundering with Wealthy Man right on top of him. Chanimal moving to the left. Cubsy moving over to Greki, but they make a mistake. They stack up for a double stun. Beautiful punish by Chun-Li, and Space Station Gaming take it to game 5.
Oh, I love that play by Chun-Li. He had to make an offensive play there. We're just getting pincered behind the pillar. He rolls in the double leg sweep, the Drestigath. Really, really, really nice setup there. And what a close game that was. Series all tied up 2-2, but I just can't help but feel like if we go to just a large map once again, like Ashamane's Fall, this is just going to be really difficult, but I just love the fact that Space Station Gaming, they have figured out at least a composition for these smaller maps.
I'm sorry, my cat is on my desk. He was meowing through that whole game and he wanted on my lap. But anyways, yeah, well played by Spacestation Gaming. They were able to tie up this series, and now it is on match point for both of these guys. And I feel like there were a lot of back and forths between there. We really couldn't tell who was going to go down in those final moments there, Zico. Where did it start to turn around for Spacestation Gaming?
Well, they got the big push there with Shunli's touch of karma right at the end there. They were able to force out the unending result. Then they went back behind the pillar a little bit, able to secure another push there. And I think the big story of the game is just you're playing against Mage Warlock, and they're on a small map where Cubsy can't actually get those drinks. So every time you're going behind the pillar to kind of just catch your breath for a second, Cubsy normally would go and drink there on a big map, and by the time you're crossing the map to get to him, you're going to get CC'd and you're not going to be able to stop him. But on this map, Cubsy wasn't actually able to do that at any point, and that's when the benefits of playing on this super small map really kicks in. Aside from making it easier to kind of go in and just get your aggressive pushes, it also just helps those.
Yeah, incredibly well done job by Space Station Gaming, the boys. Things you love to see. They really had a tough competition ahead of them in the form of Cloud9, and it seems like they're kind of starting to find an answer to this Mage Lock composition, Sid. But is this something that they're going to repeat? They're going to try and repeat in Game 5 with the same comp? I mean, obviously it's Cloud9's map choice, so they're going to try and maybe pick a different map that won't allow them to repeat the same thing that we just saw on Hook Point.
Well, Chun can't just attack Chanimal and run away like he did on Hook Point when he needed to. On Ashermane's Fall, he's going to be out in the corner in the middle of nowhere, and if he does choose to run, then Chanimal's not taking damage for a really long period of time, and it's going to be that downtime that Cubsy gets to drink, regenerate mana, keep power healing through into the later stages of the match, and map is very important for Cloud9 overall. And I would imagine they're going to be going to Ashermane's. It doesn't make sense that they would go anywhere
You're
else.
Right. Yeah, they just locked in Ashermane's.
I want to see Space Station Gaming come in with the 5-head Destro Ellie pick behind here. That's what I want to see.
All right. What about you, Ben?
Maybe it's harder to... I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Honestly, I feel like they're going to be pretty confident with this composition, and this has definitely looked the best for them. The Destrelli would be nice, but I just don't really see them playing that as... I mean, maybe Cloud9 would even just lock in something else, like Rogue Mage or something. I think locking in Blind is certainly a lot scarier, but yeah, we don't really need to talk about it anymore. They're going to be going with the Windwalker, Elemental Shaman, Mistweaver Monk once again, and I mean, Cloud9, it's fairly obvious what they're going to go with. It's a large map. They're going to go once again with the Mage Lock Monk, and they're going to try to basically exploit Smexen being in the open and try to take him down.
So good at that. How did you know?
I don't know.
Well, while Cloud9 locks in their composition here, let's talk about Space Station Gaming with this bigger map pick on Ashermane's Fall, Super T. How do you think they're going to be looking to secure a win here and hopefully repeat what we just saw in the last game? Considering the fact that they're now on a pretty different map from what we saw in that last game.
The Tiger Eye Brew and Channel looks like it'll work. A major component to that was Cubsy was out of mana, though. I don't know if they can stop him from drinking on Ashermane's Fall. But maybe it doesn't matter if they get deep enough in dampening. Even if Cubsy has mana, they could kill Chanimal. I feel like he is the only target, though, because he doesn't move as fast, so... If they get away from it, let's say Chanimal pulls them out into the middle of nowhere, they run away from him because they don't want to get greater pyroed. He comes back closer to the pillar. It takes him a long time to get back into the corner, so you can attack him for a bit, get some uptime. Either way, this is going to be really hard. I mean, Tolvaron was already hard enough, but this is basically just Tolvaron 2.0 for Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, it'll be a difficult win for them for sure. Space Station, if they want to look to move forward in the upper bracket. Loser of this, we are in an upper bracket match, so loser of this game, this next game here, is going to drop down to the lower bracket. But the pressure is certainly on. Both of these teams are on match point. They only need one more win to secure this entire series. It is Cloud9 up against Space Station Gaming 2v2 here on Ashermane's Fall.
Yep. Exceptionally large map, and what we saw Cloud9 do on Tolvaron Arena was, you know, they put pressure on Chun-Li, but for the most part, it was Smexen. When he overextended, they tried to really punish him. If they can lock him out on, you know, a lightning lasso, then all of a sudden he doesn't have access to grounding totem and wind shear, and that's when it becomes a really big vulnerability. And I think this is going to be one of those games where if Space Station Gaming, they play it defensive, which I think they need to until later on in the game, where they can actually go after Chanimal. It could be prolonged for a little bit. I don't really see Space Station Gaming looking for, you know, big offensive power plays early on. Maybe some one-shots. I mean, if they can set up on Cubsy, that would be absolutely great. But yeah, this series has been absolutely phenomenal. Space Station Gaming finally coming up with some sort of an answer here. And we'll see if Cloud9 can win this series, or Space Station Gaming is going to send them down to the lower bracket, which is something we haven't seen in quite some time.
I think regardless of what happens here, this has been a massive win for Space Station Gaming, just because now they have that answer. Ooh, big push here onto Wealthy Man. He's going to go ahead and get that Life Cocoon already forced out here. So now they're going to swap over to Chanimal, try to build up some momentum there. And just one thing that I love to see right now is the fact that we're seeing less rogues, and I think that's allowing more Ellies to come into the meta. And Ellies are extremely good at shutting down mages. Big swap here onto Cubs. He might have to use his trinket. No, he is gonna escape there without having to use his trinket. And no Life Cocoon available, but he's not going to have to use any of his defense, though. That was still a nice push there from Space Station Gaming. Already early on, they have all of the momentum. As long as they don't tank too many Chaos Bolts, too many Greater Pyroblasts, they can set up these big one-shots. If they get enough, you know, crits on the Earthshock and the Drest, they can absolutely force out things like Cauterize or Cubsy's Trinket and actually get a big win condition for later.
Lightning Lasso, I mean, look at how much damage this is doing when he's able to land it. I'm actually wondering if they should dedicate one Paralyzed to the Fell Hunter so they can guarantee that a Lightning Lasso will sit. I feel like
Nixon should play Earth Grab, and he should just...
I don't think Ellie gets Earth Grab. I'm pretty sure Ellie doesn't have it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate. That would be nice. You Earth Grab the pet, get out of line of sight, Lightning Lasso. I mean, that would definitely make for a really, really nice setup. Wealthy Man now looking for a Greater Pyroblast. Looks like Gorecki is the target of choice. They are really televising it, and Chun-Li says, hey, here's a Paralyzed Cubsy. Gorecki, have fun running away, and that setup gets completely shut down. I like the attempt there by Cloud9, but they just made it way too obvious. Cubsy was just standing on top of Gorecki waiting for the Greater Pyroblast to land. If they landed it, that would have been great, but it just allowed for Chun-Li and Smexen enough time to, you know, see what was happening and completely shut it down.
Oh, big swap on Gorecki, but Conflict and Strife. Is he going to go down? Greater Pyro's in the sky. He forward proves on very low health. He's ring a piece into the wall. Smexen deflects with that Lightning Lasso. See the Zen Focus T from Gorecki. He can't be interrupted. He's starting to bring himself back into the fight, even with that Conflict and Strife almost going down, but manages to stay in it. I really think the Lightning Lasso is going to be important for Smexen. If they use Paralyze on Cubsy, Paralyze on Fell Hunter, Lightning Lasso the Mage, I feel like they could win with that setup. It's a huge amount of damage if he's able to get a fully channeled Lightning Lasso, but it seems very difficult otherwise, and they're not really dedicating any crowd control to the Fell Hunter specifically to stop it from using Spell Lock. They have Stormkeeper, Sky Fury, Fire Elemental. Smexen's going to start ramping up his damage here. Ring a piece on Wealthy Man into Lightning Lasso. He's actually just choosing not to Spell Lock it. They get a full Lightning Lasso. Cubsy's now in a leg sweep. Wealthy Man's getting blasted. Temporal Shield is going to be enough. He's very low. It is. Buys time for Life Cocoon. Life Cocoon from Gorecki. Both sides trade. No developments in terms of mana from either side either at the 3-minute mark. About 1 minute and 32 dampening at this point, as it is likely a requirement between these two teams. Wealthy Man's Combustion up in 18. Looking for Greater Pyros on Chun out in midfield. Smexen rolls in to try and Thunderstorm it. Wealthy Man blinks the Thunderstorm, but he blinks right on top of Chun. So Chun's like, hey, Spearhand Strike, no Greater Pyro for you. Going after Wealthy Man. See the Lightning Lasso. I like the positioning of Smexen. It's the only time I really noticed Wealthy Man's health move is that Lightning Lasso. If they manage to get one of those setups later on in the game, I feel like Space Station Gaming have potential to actually best Cloud9.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to be setting up those lassos, setting up big Earthshock pushes, and obviously coordinating with Chun-Li. For now, though, there is no real openings here. Wealthy Man's going to throw out a sheep. They're going to get a fear. Greater Pyroblast. They're going to try to go through the touch of karma here of Chun-Li. Chun-Li not afraid to just toss that out and try to get some counter pressure with it. And then when he has nothing, he just pours back. And now a big setup here by Chun. He gets the paralyze, but no follow-up CC here. That push is gonna get once again denied here by C9, and now Chun-Li's gonna have to run away soon. If a Greater Pyroblast connects on him, he has no touch of karma. He needs to be a little bit careful. He's gonna roll over to Chanimal, try to get in port range here potentially. Gorek action a full sheep. Chun now could be in a lot of trouble here. No touch of karma. Another sheep there. Beautiful hex though by Smexin, and Goreki does sneak in a life cocoon. So Chun is gonna be completely fine there, but it's a little close call there. A little too close for comfort, but I guess before dampening, you can kind of afford to take some of those risks there. Try to throw out your defense offensively and see if that can net you extra wins as you enter dampening.
Ooh, Wealthy Man caught into a leg sweep. Is there any more burst? Chun-Li going for big whirling dragon punch, Fist of Fury. But it looks like Cubsy should be able to heal through that. And both these Mistweaver Monks are doing absolutely fine on mana at this point of the game. 2% dampening now as they make a big Touch of Death swap onto Chanimal. Drestigath as well. I mean, they committed a lot of their offense. That was Touch of Death. That was Drestigath with literally no crowd control on Cubsy whatsoever. So, I mean, good damage, I suppose, but it was just really easily shut down. I think they could have been a little bit more patient with that setup, but potentially they're just trying to trade out their offense to get some defense, and that can create some openings for them for when they do finally land that crowd control where they could try to push through and actually take someone down outside of that Life Cocoon cooldown, which is really, really short. Wealthy Man right now into a Lightning Lasso. Smexin setting up his team just a little bit, but Wealthy Man using Displace to get away, creating a lot of space. Chun-Li not afraid to push forward, and I think we're going to see Chun-Li. When he's got the Diffused Magic, he has the Touch of Karma. He can play, point guard for his team. He can really push in. He can play offense, can stay in the open, take a huge hit of damage. But when those cooldowns aren't up, he's going to have to run and play it as safe as he possibly can.
Both monks at full mana at this point. No big openings, basically a reset, a minute and a half into dampening, and Spacestation Gaming are reluctant to leave their pillar as they will be exposed to a lot of damage. Chanimal has his gateway set up in a way that he can jump right on top of Spacestation Gaming, although I feel like that's unlikely. I don't imagine they'll make any aggressive moves until much deeper into dampening. Chun-Li interrupting Greater Power, then getting back on Chanimal. Smexin's moving towards Wealthy Man so he can Wind Shear him. Wind Shears the Polymorph, has Grounding Totem, looks for a Hex. I like these Hexes on Wealthy Man. If they're going to kill the Warlock, they definitely need to be landing Hexes on the Mage. He goes for it again, but gets counterspelled into a Fear. Nice Ring of Peace from Goreki. I do like that they're managing interrupts on Wealthy Man without hitting him. That's very difficult to do, allocating damage to the Chanimal because he's closer, but interrupting Wealthy Man who's standing behind him. They have been rotating very well. I mean, Wealthy Man hasn't found a single Greater Pyro, even though they're not targeting him. Chun then rolls over to kick him for a moment as well. Cubsy still posted up in a good position. Dark Soul available, Combustion available. Cloud9 have a lot of damage waiting in the wings. Smexin just getting feared around circles, dispelled. Cubsy rolls over to stun Chun. They pop Combustion on him. Life Cocoon from Goreki makes Chun-Li take 0 damage. He's going to be stable to stay on Chanimal. Chanimal has split his cooldowns. He didn't pop Dark Soul along with the Combustion, so still potential. He could use that to counter engage too. It's very important that the enemy doesn't just immediately run. Smexin actually just tanks 2 Chaos Bolts straight to the face. He's going to retreat back to the pillar and try and recover after receiving that punishment. Stormkeeper is up. Likely we see the Sky Fury totem. Smexin holding on to it for now. Just lobbing out.
I really like what Cloud9 is doing right now. Anytime Chun pushes in, they just pop all of their cooldowns on him. That way, like now, I'm expecting to see a big push onto Chun just to make him use his Touch of Karma, because when he doesn't have those abilities, he can't actually stay in. He has to just run away, and that way he actually never gets that uptime that he needs to kind of stack up his damage and get his burst ready. I'm going to see if they can do just that right now. Smexin is in a fear. Chanimal trying to get some counter pressure going here. Wealthy Man gonna be stopped on that Greater Pyroblast. Gonna go for another one. Oh, he got bounced between those 2 rings. It kind of looked like an 8 on the ground there. Wealthy Man's just gonna blink out of that situation. Try to load up another Greater Pyroblast, and I think Chun-Li is gonna have to run here. No, they're going for Smexin.
Yeah, looking to go after Smexen. I think it's the best target they have. When Smexen is in the open, force him back to the pillar. And that's the problem. I mean, we saw it on Tolvaron Arena. If Smexen gets caught in the open, he's such a great target. He doesn't have Transcendence or, big negating cooldowns like the Diffuse Magic and the Touch of Karma. But they're pushing forward. Paralyzed on Wealthy Man. Let me double check once again. I think Chun-Li is going to be playing that Tiger Eye Brew. So they took down Chanimal in the last game. I think it's extremely likely that is going to be the main target in this game as well. And it's at that 40% dampening mark where you're going to really see Chun-Li put out tons of pressure on Chanimal. And that's when Cubsy is going to burn through his mana really, really quickly. At 30% dampening, both of these healers have been able to drink. And they are at absolutely full mana. But once we get to 40%, 50% dampening, that's when they really start getting taxed and the consistent pressure really starts adding up for both these teams. Wealthy Man, once again, look for a greater Power Blast. But I have to say, Spacestation Gaming, they've been doing a really good job shutting that down. Good burst damage here on Chanimal as well as Smexen looking to just create some solo pressure on Wealthy Man. Basically just hitting whoever he can in the match. His job is basically just deny Wealthy Man his greater Power Blast with Grounding and Wind Shear and Lightning Lasso, and also just put out as much consistent damage in the match as possible.
Nice Hex on Wealthy Man into Leg Sweep. Nice setup with the Dress to Gath, but Life Cocoon easily going to stop all damage. Chun ports away. No reason to be out in midfield attacking a target that's immune. Cubsy repositions to the starting area. An interesting position to be at. If Chun gets baited into there, but he actually Ring of Pieces Cubsy into the wall. Not able to capitalize on that positioning too much. Smexen is just feared. Greki gets polyed, but it's on diminishing return. A little bit sloppy here, but obviously these teams have played out a very long best-of-5 series, so I do expect mistakes to happen. Chun trading out some cooldowns, but he's still getting cut through. Big damage from Cloud9. They don't want to throw it away. They've played this out for almost 11 minutes. Damage now on a Chanimal. Cubsy needs to get ready. Instant counterspell on that Lightning Lasso. Nicely done by Wealthy Man, breaking up the chain. But Chanimal is still being hounded. He's going to double Mortal Coil Chun and Smexen. Fierce Smexen off into the distance. Smexen is so far out of the fight right now. He's in a polymorph. There is no way he's getting dispelled out of that. I almost want to see what the man Frost Nova him over there. Chun-Li and Gareki are just healing each other at the pillar. Chun-Li trying to get back on the target, which is going to be Chanimal deep into dampening with that Tiger Eye Brew. He uses Demonic Gateway to escape. Cubsy rolls over. They reposition. They trade sides on the map. Chun switches to the closer wizard. Wealthy Man doesn't want to overextend out of line of sight, but Greki is counterspelled. Good damage on Wealthy Man. Surprising pressure from Space Station Gaming. It seems like around that 50% dampening mark where sparks really start to fly between the teams.
Yeah, and Chun-Li does have all of his defense rotating back up in 20 seconds. And I think this is when we're going to start seeing the Chanimal push. If he has his defense available, he can use that onto Chanimal and stay offensive. And this is a big win right now. They got this Life Cocoon here. You can expect Chun, as soon as that Life Cocoon is over, he's going to probably activate his Touch of Karma and just go complete face here onto Chanimal. And Cubsy's not going to have any Life Cocoon. He's not going to have anything really to heal through it. So we're going to see if they can land something. Cubsy actually with a beautiful leg sweep onto Goreki. Goreki used his every man for himself racial right there to get out of that sticky situation, and he used his own Life Cocoon, which in my opinion is a mistake because Chun is going to need it very soon to have more uptime onto Chanimal if they want to win this game on the side of Space Station Gaming. And here you can expect it. They're going to try to shut down Wealthy Man on those greater Pyroblasts that are about to be casted, and then after that probably trade out a Karma here onto Chanimal and really try to push. They have a small window here before the Life Cocoon comes up where they need to force out the Unending Resolve. I'm not sure if they're going to find it. Wealthy Man has done a great job just stalling out that setup with the polymorphs and now counter pressuring with that combustion onto Smexen, forcing all of Space Station Gaming to just cover behind the pillar, and that window is now once again lost. C9 with their classical chokehold here on that pillar.
Yeah, but it looks like Space Station Gaming, they have kind of recovered, and they're looking to make an offensive push once again, but Chun-Li has to be careful with no defensive options. They just want to get the ball rolling. They want to get the damage onto Chanimal if they can, but this is something that could absolutely backfire. Greki uses the Life Cocoon, but at 50% dampening, they shred through it quite quickly. This is the Touch of Death, but there's just so much defense available for Cloud9. Life Cocoon trades out by Cubsy, and now Chun-Li, I mean, he's going to have to run at this point. And Chanimal getting big burst damage out. There is no Dark Soul. That was the Infernals, however, and he does have the Mortal Coil. So Chun-Li definitely, there's a potential that he can get set up, but he's just going to use actually the starter room to line of sight and try to avoid damage. Wealthy Man with a Shimmer. Greater Power Blast gets Wind Sheared. Really good backup there by Smexen, keeping Chun-Li in the fight. And now it's Wealthy Man. This could be his Cauterize. Do they have the damage? It is going to be the touch of karma. Wealthy Man choosing not to ice block it, doesn't want to get over aggressive, just slowly force Space Station Gaming back to the pillar, limit their offense. And now it's a situation where Space Station Gaming, they basically have to recover. And I want them to wait as long as they possibly can, wait for Touch of Karma, wait for Diffused Magic, wait for basically everything, because I just don't see any reason to try to trade unless you have all your defensive CDs to try to make a power play.
Smexon Lightning lassoed the Fell Hunter to try and let Gorecki drink. Now blasting Wealthy Man. Sudden burst. That Life Cocoon not looking nearly as good at 57% healing reduction. They break it without Wealthy Man getting topped off. They bring a piece Wealthy Man towards mid. Chun is chasing down Chan, rolling now back over onto Wealthy Man. Trying to burst him. He blinks back. Greater Pyro. Grounding Totem. Nicely done there by Smexon. Cubsy just healing up the team. Mana is maintaining between both sides as we get to 60% dampening. And Chun is just trying to wait. He wants that Karma. He wants that Fortified Brew before he makes a move. Otherwise, he will be susceptible to death because Dark Soul is up. Combustion is available. Chanimal and Wealthy Man are a big threat right now. They've played such a long series. They don't want to throw it away. They're trying to go for a push here on a Wealthy Man. Big Drestigat. They get it. The Cauterize finally. Only 15 minutes later, they finally got Cauterize from Wealthy Man. Chun rolls to the side, then back in to kick it. Ports back to his team. If they can stay alive for another push, they could net an ice block. Are Space Station Gaming finally going to be able to overthrow North America's dampening overlords Cloud9?
The thing is, they need to make several pushes here. Wealthy Man still has his ice block, and they're getting to that critical point now where the poke damage, the rain of fire, and the flame strikes are really starting to add up. Wealthy Man getting aggressive, knowing that they're just waiting for that leg sweep from Chun-Li before they're going to go back in again. So he takes the game into his own hands, stacks up that big combustion, and now it looks like C9 are going to have the pressure that they need to close out this match. Wealthy Man could be in big trouble, though. He needs to be extremely careful. He might just have to use his ice block here. He does get a beautiful temporal shield with the Vitality Conduit, and now Chun-Li once again is going to have to go behind the pillar. Gorecki using that Life Cocoon, and this is the chokehold that C9 needs. I'm pretty sure Space Station Gaming is out of space here on this map. Now we can see they're going to rot down to the Cataclysm, to the Rain of Fire, to the Flame Strikes, but Wealthy Man does blink in aggressively. Could cost them. He needs to be careful. Drestigath is still available here on the side of Chun. Don't want to repeat what happened there on the hook point. And now Gorecki as well is just, I think, going for a drink. I'm not sure. He's just trying to not stack up with his team. And you can see he's having a real difficult time here keeping his team alive, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. You just have so much instant damage from the Fire Mage and the Warlock. It becomes so difficult to top off. And I mean, Chun-Li with no offensive cooldown or no defensive cooldowns, he can't really make a push. Cloud9 is definitely looking good at 72% dampening, the highest dampening we've seen, I think, in a couple of weeks. Smexon, I just don't know how you can possibly recover a polymorph on a Gorecki, and that's it. All it takes at 70% dampening is a polymorph. Any amount of damage should close us out on Smexon. He is still alive, but I mean, not for long. 73% dampening.
Is that the most
and you can see
we've seen all day?